It's been exactly 3 years since the incident happened, and in those 3 years, Yusaku Fujiki has been passed from one relative to another. They were all the same, optimistic to help him at first, and then would later on only see him as a burden. Everyone tried their best to talk to him, to make him forget what happened, but even something as simple as a human touch felt like electricity to him. There were days where he would stare off to space for hours. He wouldn't talk or even move. It was his body's way of trying to cope with all the stimulus that he has been feeling all at once. But to his relatives, it just felt creepy and unsettling. There were improvements though. A year ago, he wouldn't even respond to anyone, but now, he was used to talking, and for the time being, homeschooled. His foster parents are very much still wary of sending him to school, especially as teens everywhere are playing the card game any chance they get. They were afraid that just seeing the cards would throw him back into his traumatic experience. They pity him. He was only 6 years old when the incident happened. He was too young to even fully understand what was happening to him. He was tortured, forced to do well, and even now, 3 years later, his childhood is being robbed of him by the very incident that has caused him pain. His parents also being divorced in a way did not contribute to his well-being. Despite all the hardship he has to endure, Yusaku was still lucky to have the Fujiwaras as his foster parents. They had done everything to make sure that he can slowly integrate back to society. Not wanting him to be always stuck at home, Fujiwara Miyu decided to bring Yusaku along to the nearest children's park, hoping that the change of scenery and seeing children of his age would at least help him integrate back into society. The plan didn't exactly went smoothly. Yusaku was too scared to leave the comforts of the Fujiwara's side, and he was touching her skirt and following her everywhere. Knowing that it was probably too much to ask Yusaku to talk to the other kids or play around the playground on their visit, Fujiwara decided that it would be an accomplishment to just bring Yusaku out of the house. She then settled to sitting on the bench and have Yusaku join her as they watched the children play around the park. At one point, however, she felt that it was too hot for both of them and decided to at least get water for both of them for the vending machine. Yusaku, can you stay here while I get us water from the vending machine? The young boy nodded to answer. Knowing full well that nothing bad would befall the 9-year-old, Fujiwara left the boy to his own. Ever since he turned 10 years old, Ryoken Kogami has turned all of his attention and energy to studying. He found out that losing himself into reading books, solving problems, and writing down notes drowns out all of the thoughts that he has on his head for the past few years. He still doesn't fully understand what happened 3 years ago, but he knew that by gaining more knowledge, he'll understand everything that has happened around him for the past 5 years. At a young age, he already knew that what his father did was not necessarily wrong, but it wasn't exactly right. He has yet to fully grasp the gravity of his action, but someday he believes he will. It was part of his 3 goals. 1. Fully understand what his father was doing. 2. Correct the actions that his father has done wrong. And lastly, finish what he has failed to accomplish. Once he has done all of this, he hoped that finally his father would be able to forgive the action he has done in the past. In order to do all of this, Ryoken had enrolled himself in an advanced cram school. He would spend hours studying and would only come home late afternoon. And it was one of those afternoon strolls from the cram school that he saw the familiar face of his nightmares. He saw the boy sitting down on the bench, staring at the faraway distance. Unable to pull his eyes away from the child, he unconsciously let go of the notes that he was holding. The papers fell on the ground, and one of them was swept by the winds towards the boy's direction. A bit frustrated, Ryoken quickly picked up the papers on the ground and walked towards the boy to pick up the last paper. Whether it was a twist of fate or God's cruel joke, he didn't know what to make of the encounter. For the very person that he has saved from his father's experiments, he knew in his heart that he had no reason to talk to the boy. He probably doesn't even know who he was, but probably, for the last time in his life, he allowed his feelings to take over. "I'm sorry,"